All right. Looks like we are live. We are back. Welcome, everybody, to the deep dive.
It is tremendous to be here. Just tremendous. The energy in this room right now. Unbelievable. We have a lot to talk about today.
We really do. I have to say, the reaction to the last deep dive we did, the one focusing on Bitcoin, was just absolutely insane. My phone blew up.
Oh, I bet it did. People are waking up. They are starved for the truth, for real information about this stuff.
Exactly. And people are clearly wanting to know what comes next. Because we established last time that Bitcoin is the king, right? It's the digital gold. It is the rock in the storm. It just sits there. It's hard money, very secure. But today we are looking at the other beast in the room. We are diving into Ethereum.
The big one. This is a really complex one. Frankly, this is the one that keeps the central bankers awake at night, just sweating through their sheets because of what it can do.
Right. And there's this massive debate I keep seeing online. I read the sources for this deep dive. And some people say, well, if Bitcoin is gold, then Ethereum is just silver. Like it's just second place, the eternal runner-up.
Such a loser mentality. That is small thinking.
Yeah, because then you talk to the developers, the people who are deep in the code, the guys living in basements writing this stuff all night, and they say, no, you completely misunderstand it. Bitcoin is a calculator, and Ethereum is the entire internet.
It is the internet. It is a completely different paradigm.
So before we get into the matrix here, and we are going to go incredibly deep today, looking at everything from the tech to the geopolitical implications, we absolutely have to do the disclaimer.
The mandatory disclaimer. We have to do it, otherwise the lawyers get very, very upset. It's a disaster if we don't.
Right. So for everyone listening, this is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. I'm just a guy with a microphone looking at these sources, trying to make sense of a really crazy world.
And I am just a person who understands deals. Believe me, I understand leverage, I understand markets, I know the winners and the losers, but no. Do not go mortgage your house because of what we are talking about today. Do not bet the farm. We are just two people analyzing code. Code that might, and I say might, it's a very big bait, might run the entire world someday.
Code that might run the world. That is a heavy statement to kick things off with.
It is a huge statement, maybe the biggest statement you could make right now. But look, let's frame it properly so you, the listener, really understand the shapes of what we are looking at. If we look at Bitcoin, we called it the vault.
Yeah, the vault. Impenetrable.
It's strong, it's secure, it does not change. It's dumb in a good way. Like a giant steel box is dumb, it just holds things. But Ethereum is the factory.
The factory. Okay, I like that. Paint that picture for me.
Okay.
How is it a factory?
It is the factory because it is where things are made. It is highly complex, it is productive, it is noisy. You have gears turning, steam coming out, products on the assembly line, and frankly, it is a much harder deal to understand than Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin is simple, scarcity. There are only 21 million of them. End of story. It's a beautiful, simple story. Ethereum, it is a machine. And the potential there is tremendous, but it is a big might because it's so complicated.
A big might.
Yes, because it's a deal where the house doesn't exist. I want you to really think about that for a second. In every casino, in every single bank, in every stock market, in the history of the world, there is a house. There is a middleman standing there taking a cut of your money. With Ethereum, the vision of this whole thing is a system where there are no middlemen. No bankers skimming off the top of your hard work. Just people and code doing deals directly.
That sounds like absolute chaos to a lot of people. I mean, without the bank, who do you call when something goes wrong?
To the losers, it sounds like chaos, because they need to be told what to do. But to the winners, to the people who understand freedom, it sounds like the greatest opportunity since the internet was turned on. It is total efficiency.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's go all the way back to the beginning, the genesis of this whole thing. Because we had Bitcoin, it worked, it was secure, it was peer-to-peer cash, and it proved the blockchain concept. So why did we even need this other thing? Who looked at Bitcoin and said, hey, this isn't enough?
That was Vitalik Buterin.
Vitalik, yeah, I've seen pictures of this guy in the source materials.
Have you seen him? Very, very skinny guy.
Yeah, he looks like he runs on pure electricity.
Yeah.
He wears those unicorn t-shirts with rainbows and cats on them. He does not look like a Wall Street guy at all.
He does not. He's very skinny, but let me tell you, very smart. Maybe the smartest. I mean, the brain power on this guy is just unbelievable. He's like an alien intelligence that just dropped onto the planet. And he looked at what Satoshi Nakamoto did with Bitcoin. He saw the blockchain. He saw the decentralized ledger. And he said, this is beautiful. This is a masterpiece. But it's a calculator.
A calculator. Man, that feels almost insulting to Bitcoin, calling it a Casio or a Texas Instruments calculator.
It's not an insult at all, it's just a fact. A calculator does one thing very, very well. It does math. Bitcoin moves value from point A to point B securely. Vitalik looked at that and said, I can make it do everything. He wanted to take that underlying technology, the trust, the security, the decentralization that makes Bitcoin great, and put a full programming language right on top of it.
So instead of just sending money, you are sending what?
Instructions.
Exactly. You are
Right.
sending logic. You are sending rules. You're sending a command that says, if this happens, then that happens. And this is where we get into the concept of smart contracts, which is the whole ballgame. Smart contracts. I hear this term thrown around constantly on financial networks. People say, oh, it's a smart contract, it's revolutionary. But if you ask the average guy at the pub having a beer what a smart contract is, they have absolutely no idea. They think it's like a PDF on an iPad that somehow signs itself.
Nobody knows. They use the words to sound smart, but they don't know the meaning. But it is actually very simple to understand. I have an analogy for this. I call it the pub story.
Okay, let's hear the pub story. Break it down for the listener who has no background in coding.
Imagine a vending machine.
Okay, a standard vending machine.
You walk up to a vending machine, you see a soda you want, it costs $2, you put $2 in, you press the button, the soda comes out.
Right. Standard everyday transaction.
Now, did you need a cashier standing there to hand you the soda?
No.
Did you need a manager to come over and approve the transaction, ask for your ID, check your credit score?
No, of course not.
Did you need a lawyer to draft a legal contract saying, if the party of the first part provides $2, the party of the second part must immediately provide 1 can of Pepsi?
No. The machine just did it. It's automatic.
Exactly. The machine is the contract, the code is the law. If money goes in, the mechanism triggers, soda comes out. It is automated trust. You don't trust the soda company, you trust the machine. Now, take that concept and imagine that vending machine is not just for soda. Imagine it is a global digital vending machine for everything.
Everything. Like, what do you mean by everything? Give me some examples.
I mean everything. Insurance policies, houses, stocks, bank loans, financial derivatives.
So you're saying you put the money in and the title to a house literally comes out.
Essentially, yes. In the digital world, yes. Or you put your collateral and say you put in some Bitcoin and a loan comes out the other side. Instantly. No bank manager sitting across a mahogany desk looking at your credit score, judging your clothes, and deciding if he likes your face. There's no human bias. Just code. If X happens, then Y happens. Boom. Done. That is a smart contract.
That is wild. I mean, it removes the human element entirely from the economy. It removes the guy in the suit taking a fee just for stamping a paper.
It removes the friction. It removes the bias. And Vitalik, with his massive brain, he realized that if you build this right, you create a system that is Turing complete.
Okay, hang on a second. Turing complete. You're dropping the heavy nerd bombs now. That sounds like something straight out of Ex Machina or a sci-fi movie.
What does Turing complete actually mean in plain English for everyone listening?
It's a fancy term. Very fancy.
Yeah.
The academics love to throw it around. It's named after Alan Turing, a genius guy. But all it means is that the computer, in this case, the entire Ethereum network, can solve any computational problem you give it, provided it has enough time and enough power. It can run any program. Bitcoin is not Turing complete. It is limited by design. It can only do basic math, which keeps it safe. But Ethereum can run video games. It can run complex financial markets. It can run national voting systems. It is literally a world computer. A world computer.
Yeah.
Okay, but here is where my skepticism kicks in, and I think a lot of people listening will feel the same way. If you make something that incredibly complex, doesn't it break easier? I mean, think about it. A calculator rarely breaks. You can drop a basic Casio off a building, go downstairs, pick it up, and it still works. But a smartphone freezes if you just look at it wrong.
That is the debate. You just hit the nail right on the head. That is the massive war going on right now in this space. You have the purists.
Right, the Bitcoin maxes.
The Bitcoin maxes.
Yeah.
And look, they are great people, very passionate people. But they say complexity is weakness. They say if you have 1,000 lines of code, you have 1,000 different places for a hacker to get in and steal your money. And frankly, they are not wrong.
They have a strong point. The more moving parts, the more things can jam up.
They have a tremendous point. But then you have the visionaries on the other side, the people like Vitalik and the Ethereum developers. And they say if you don't have complexity, you are stuck in the Stone Age. You can have a perfectly safe rock, but you cannot fly to the moon on a rock. You need a rocket ship. And rockets are very complex. Rockets can explode. but rockets are the only thing that gets you to the stars.
So it is a fundamental trade-off.
Mhm.
It's ultimate security versus ultimate capability.
Yes, it is creative destruction happening right in front of our eyes in real time. We are watching the old world of finance, which is incredibly slow, incredibly expensive, run by people in nice suits, taking 3-hour lunches, being directly challenged by a new world of code that is fast, cheap, and run entirely by math.
And this naturally brings us to the relationship between the two heavyweights, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Because I see these guys online on social media, and it is honestly like watching a religious war. One guy's screaming, Bitcoin is the only way, Ethereum is a centralized scam, and the other guy's yelling, Bitcoin is a dinosaur, Ethereum is the entire future of the internet. Does one of them actually have to die for the other to live? Is this a Highlander situation where there can be only one?
No, it is not Highlander. That is small loser thinking.
Yeah.
We need to think big here. They do not have to fight to the death. They have to coexist.
Why do they have to coexist?
Yeah.
Explain the logic there.
Because of Metcalfe's law, this is a very important concept.
Metcalfe's law. Let's break that down for everyone. What is that?
Metcalfe's law is a complex economic and networking theory, but simply put, it states that the value of a network goes up based on the square of the number of people using it. Basically, if you invent a fax machine and you are the only person on Earth who has one, it is completely useless.
Right. Who are you going to fax? You're just faxing a blank paper to yourself?
Exactly. It's a heavy, expensive paperweight. But if 2 people have a fax machine, it suddenly has value. If 1 million people have it, it becomes essential for business. Now, apply this law to crypto. The more people who come into the Bitcoin network to store their wealth, the more they are eventually going to want to actually do something with that wealth.
Because they don't just want it to sit there in a digital vault forever. They want leverage.
Exactly. You get all this wealth, you want to borrow against it to buy a house, you want to earn interest on it, you want to engage in commerce. Bitcoin is the reserve currency. It is the gold bar sitting securely in your basement. But you do not walk into a Starbucks, order a latte, and shave a little piece of your gold bar off onto the counter to pay for it.
Yeah, that would be a total mess.
Lee.
The barista would absolutely hate you.
It would be a disaster. The line would be out the door. You leave the gold in the vault. That is what Bitcoin is for. But you have a credit card in your pocket. That credit card moves value instantly. It talks to the bank, it talks to the merchant, it settles the deal in seconds. That is the utility layer, and that is what Ethereum is.
I really like that analogy. So Bitcoin is the untouchable savings account, and Ethereum is the checking account, plus the Visa network, plus the entire stock market routing all the complex transactions.
It is the digital oil to Bitcoin's digital gold. You absolutely need the gold to preserve the wealth, but you desperately need the oil to run the machine, to actually move the economy forward. You need both to be a true winner in this new digital age. If you only have gold, you are very rich but completely immobile. If you only have oil, you are highly productive but very volatile.
Okay, so they work together. That makes total sense.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the people actually betting massive amounts of money on this. Because it's not just the basement developers anymore. It is Wall Street. It is the big institutional players entering the chat.
Oh, it is big money. The biggest money in the world is looking at this right now.
You mentioned Tom Lee in the source notes for this deep dive.
Yeah.
The CEO of Fundstrat, I've seen him on TV a million times.
Yeah.
He is always incredibly bullish. Even when the market is actively crashing and burning, he is on CNBC smiling.
Tom Lee is a genius. I know him. He is a very, very brave guy.
Why brave? It's just numbers on a screen to these guys, isn't it?
Because when everyone else is panicking and running for the hills, when the price crashes 50% and the media says crypto is dead for the 100th time, Tom Lee is the guy on TV saying, buy more. And the thing is, he is usually right.
So what is his angle? What did Tom Lee see in the data that the average retail investor completely missed?
He saw the institutional gap. But much more importantly, he understood the fundamental business of mining. And look, the story here involves a strategy with a company called BitMine. And whether we are talking about Bitcoin now or the old version of Ethereum that used to use mining, the underlying logic he used is just fascinating. It is all about mining efficiency.
Let's expand on that. Mining efficiency, because mining is abstract for most people.
Okay. Mining, which is the way these decentralized networks are secured, is basically about computers solving incredibly complex math problems. To solve the math, you need massive amounts of electricity.
Right. You plug these giant rigs in, the fans spin like jet engines, they generate a ridiculous amount of heat.
So it becomes a very simple, brutal equation. How much math can your machines do per kilowatt of power you pay for? If you have old, outdated computers and you live somewhere with expensive electricity, you are losing money every single second they are plugged in. You are a loser in that
They
game.
were literally just burning cash.
You are burning cash fast. But if you have the absolute best chips, the fastest computers, and you secure a contract for cheap power, maybe near a hydroelectric dam, you are literally printing money. Tom Lee understood that this isn't just a fun hobby for kids in their basements anymore. It is a global industrial arms race. Efficient equals winner. Inefficient equals loser.
But the price, man,
Yeah.
the price of these assets is a complete roller coaster. I mean, we've seen Bitcoin and Ethereum drop 50% in a single week. How does a guy like Tom Lee or any serious institutional investor not have a massive heart attack when that happens?
Because they do not look at the price.
They don't look at the price. That is literally all I look at. I check my phone 20 times a day.
That's because you are retail. The price is just noise. The price is just people panicking or getting overly excited because of a tweet. Tom Lee looks at the hash rate.
The hash rate, let's define that term clearly.
The hash rate is the total computational power of all the computers around the world protecting the network. It is the actual heartbeat of the system. Imagine you have a giant fortress. The price is just what the people in the village think the fortress is worth today based on rumors. But the hash rate, that is the thickness of the stone walls. That is the number of heavily armed guards standing on duty.
Oh, wow. So if the price drops, but the hash rate keeps going up.
Then the network is fundamentally getting stronger. The fortress is getting harder and harder to attack. If the price drops 50% because of some bad news, but the hash rate doubles in that same week, that is a massive divergence. That is a giant neon signal. It means the smart money, the big institutions are building infrastructure and expanding, while the dumb money is panic selling at a loss.
That is a really, really interesting way to look at it. You completely ignore the ticker tape on the TV, and you go down and look at the actual engine room.
Exactly. You look at the engine, you look at the asymmetric upside.
Break that down. Asymmetric upside. That sounds like high-level business school jargon.
It is the absolute art of the deal. Look, if I go to the track and I bet $1 on a horse, and the absolute best I can do if the horse wins is make $2 back, that is a boring bet. That's a 1-to-1 risk ratio.
Right. It's not worth the stress of watching the race.
Exactly. But asymmetric upside is when the risk is losing $1, so I lose my initial stake. Big deal, I can survive losing $1, but the potential reward, the reward is making $100 or $1,000.
So your downside is strictly capped, but your upside is practically infinite.
Or very close to it. That is what I call the beautiful deal. That is exactly what Ethereum represents to guys like Tom Lee. If it fails, okay, it goes to zero. You lost your bet. You move on. But if it works, if Vitalik's vision actually becomes the global world computer, you are talking about 100x, 1,000x return. You are effectively owning a piece of the internet itself.
But owning a piece of the internet comes with a lot of heavy baggage.
Nope.
And that brings us to a major, major hurdle that the sources highlight. We talk about electricity. We talked about the industrial scale of mining. For a long time, the biggest, loudest criticism of crypto, especially from the environmental crowd, was the energy usage. You'd see headlines like, "Crypto boils the oceans," or "Bitcoin uses more power than the entire country of Argentina."
Oh, the green people, they hated it. They called it an absolute disaster, environmental disaster. They wanted to shut the whole thing down, ban it globally.
And now, fast forward to today, we have this massive new player in the energy game, AI, artificial intelligence.
That's right, the new kid on the block.
And AI needs staggering, mind-boggling amounts of power to think, right? To train these large language models.
Yeah.
While crypto needs power to secure its network, are we heading for a literal war over the global power grid, AI versus crypto?
It is already a war. It is a total war for the grid. But here is where the story gets really, really interesting. The Ethereum developers, they saw this coming. They pivoted. They did something absolutely wild.
What did they do? How do you pivot out of an energy war?
They completely rebuilt the engine while the car was driving down the highway at 100 miles an hour. They switched the entire network from mining to staking. It's a system called proof of stake.
Proof of stake. Okay, you're going to have to walk me through the difference here. Treat me like I am 5 years old, because this is where people get lost.
Okay, very simple. Proof of work, that is what Bitcoin uses, and what Ethereum used to use is the giant fans, the massive warehouses full of computers, the heat, the noise, the electric bills. You burn massive amounts of energy to prove to the network that you are an honest actor.
Right. Sweat equity. You wouldn't waste millions of dollars on electricity just to try a fake transaction.
Exactly. But proof of stake. You do not use energy at all. You use your money. You take your Ethereum coins, your actual capital, and you stake them. You lock them up voluntarily in a digital vault on the network. And by locking up your own money, you earn the right to validate the transactions and earn a yield.
So you are putting your own skin in the game. It's like putting down a massive security deposit.
Hmm.
But if you try to cheat the network, say you try to approve a fake transaction, what happens to those staked coins?
They get slashed. The code automatically confiscates them. You lose them. Poof. Gone forever.
Damn. So the fear of losing your own capital is what keeps you honest instead of the cost of burning electricity?
Precisely. It's brilliant. And do you know what the result was? Ethereum's energy consumption dropped by 99.9%, literally overnight.
99.9%. That's not just an improvement. That is a completely different species of technology.
It is a technological miracle. It went from being an energy monster to using the power of a light bulb. And strategically, it was an absolute genius move because it immediately took the target off their back. The environmentalists put down their pitchforks and went home. But more importantly, it left the heavy electricity grid wide open.
Open for who? For the AI company?
The AI guys, for Sam Altman at OpenAI, for Jensen Huang at NVIDIA. These guys are begging for gigawatts of power. If Ethereum was still fighting them for that same electricity, the government would have stepped in. They would have crushed crypto to save AI because AI is a national security priority.
That is a fascinating geopolitical angle. So by voluntarily moving to proof of stake, Ethereum basically stepped aside and said, go ahead, AI, take all the juice. We don't even need it anymore.
They said, we don't need the coal. We don't need the nuclear plants. We have the code.
Huh.
It was a strategic retreat that was actually a massive victory. It completely solved the environmental issue and won the PR war in one single brilliant move.
Incredible. Okay, now let's zoom out a bit. We've talked about the tech, the energy, the Wall Street guys. Let's talk about the world stage. We are seeing actual sovereign countries adopting Bitcoin.
Yeah.
El Salvador is the famous one, obviously.
Yeah.
There's constant talk about nations holding strategic reserves of Bitcoin.
Mm.
Is anyone looking at Ethereum like that? Are governments hoarding Ethereum?
Not as a traditional reserve currency, not quite yet, because the old guard still sees it as volatile tech. But the smart countries, they are looking at it as foundational infrastructure.
Infrastructure, like
Yeah.
digital roads and bridges.
Exactly. Look at the Emirates. Look at Singapore. These are very smart places. They are run like highly successful businesses, not bureaucratic nightmares.
Very efficient, clean, fast.
Tremendously efficient. They aren't just buying the Ethereum coin to hold it in a dark vault and wait for the price to go up. They are actively building their government systems on the EVM.
The EVM, define that for us.
The Ethereum virtual machine. It is the engine we talked about earlier. It's the global operating system. Think about it. If you are the government of Singapore and you want to issue new government bonds or track millions of shipping containers or manage national land deeds, why in the world would you pay billions to build your own clunky private database that some hacker is eventually going to breach? Why not just use the unbreakable global standard?
So they are essentially renting space on Vitalik's world computer to run their own country's operations.
They are buying digital land. If a forward-thinking country puts Ethereum in its treasury or heavily uses the tech stack, they are acting as a geopolitical hedge. They are looking at the board and saying, we don't know for sure if the US dollar will win the next century or if the Chinese yuan will win, but we know for an absolute fact that the internet will win.
That's a really smart hedge. It's a hedge on the future of human connectivity itself.
It's the ultimate hedge. And it's funny because when you look at how different political factions view Ethereum, it is completely polarizing. It depends entirely on your politics. You see Ethereum completely differently based on your worldview.
What do you mean by that? How does politics play into code?
Well, just look at the sources. Take the right-centric view, the hardcore conservative free market view.
Okay, let's start there.
To them, Ethereum is the ultimate pure capitalist machine. It is programmable money. It inherently rewards the people who hold and risk capital. If you have money, you stake it, you provide security, and you make more money. It's total financial freedom. No corrupt government can step in and stop a smart contract once it's running. It is a libertarian paradise.
Right. Code is law. No regulators in suits. No SEC telling you what you can and cannot invest your own money in.
Exactly. It's pure, unfiltered capitalism. But then you flip it and look at the left-centric view.
The progressive socialist-leaning view. How do they see it?
To them, it is a revolutionary tool for DAOs.
DAOs.
Yeah.
Decentralized autonomous organizations.
Exactly. Basically, they are massive digital co-ops on steroids.
Workers owning the means of production, but in the cloud.
Yes. They see Ethereum as a way for the workers, the users, to actually own the code and the platforms they use. No greedy CEO making 1,000 times what the workers make. No billionaire shareholders hoarding all the profit. In a DAO, the profit is distributed automatically by the smart contract to everyone who contributes value. So the left loves it because they see it as mathematically fair, and the right loves it because they see it as totally free from government control.
That is wild. It's a literal Rorschach test. You look at the exact same lines of code, and you see whatever your political ideology wants you to see.
It's beautiful. It appeals to everyone for completely different reasons. And then you have the Japanese view, which I find fascinating.
Oh, this I definitely have to hear. What is the ordinary Japanese view on Ethereum?
It is very cultural, very, very deep. They look at it through the concept of omotenashi.
Omotenashi, I've heard that word. That's like Japanese hospitality, right? The art of anticipating guests' needs before they even ask.
Yes. Wholehearted, selfless hospitality. When Japanese developers look at Ethereum, they ask, does this code serve the user well? Is it polite? Is it actually helping society? And frankly, right now, Ethereum is a bit messy. The fees can be high. It's confusing to use. It is very high friction. It is not very omotenashi right now.
Yeah, it's kind of a rude vending machine at the moment.
Yeah.
Sometimes you press the button and it just eats your $20 bill and gives you an error message.
It eats your money. It is very rude. But the Japanese developers, they don't get angry and quit. They are culturally focused on Kaizen.
Kaizen, continuous improvement.
Continuous, steady improvement. They see Ethereum not as a finished, perfect product, but as a digital garden. You have to prune it. You have to water it. You have to pull the weeds and make it a little bit better every single day. And that is why Japan is quietly behind the scenes becoming an absolute powerhouse in the crypto space. They have the patience for Kaizen. They aren't just looking for a quick buck.
That's a really beautiful way to put it. We Americans, we just want it to moon tomorrow so we can buy a yacht.
We want the moon. We want the Lambo immediately. But the Japanese want the perfection of the system. It's a different mindset entirely.
All right, let's pivot to something a bit darker. Let's talk about the hard reality of this tech, the threats that could bring the whole thing crashing down.
The existential threats, we have to talk about them.
We talked about quantum computing extensively in the Bitcoin deep dive. This idea that an AI or a supercomputer becomes so incredibly powerful, it can just instantly guess your private keys, crack the cryptographic code. With Bitcoin, we said it's a slow race, and Bitcoin moves deliberately. Is Ethereum in the same boat? Is there a legitimate end-of-the-world scenario here where a quantum computer turns on and drains every wallet?
It is a theoretical threat, absolutely. If a fully functional quantum computer appears out of nowhere tomorrow that is powerful enough, it could technically pick the lock of the entire digital vault.
So everyone's money, billions of dollars, is just gone in a flash.
Theoretically, yes. But practically speaking, it is a paper tiger.
A paper tiger. So it looks terrifying on the news, but it has no actual teeth.
It looks very scary on a clickbait headline, Quantum Apocalypse Ruins Crypto. But in reality, the Ethereum developers already have the solution mapped out.
What's the solution? How do you fight a supercomputer?
With upgrades. See, Ethereum is fundamentally different from Bitcoin in how it governs itself. Bitcoin is very, very hard to change. Getting Bitcoin to change its code is like trying to move a literal mountain with a shovel. It's designed to be stubborn. But Ethereum changes all the time. They are constantly upgrading. They have a system called EIPs.
EIPs, Ethereum Improvement Proposals.
Exactly. It's just like the BIP 360 protocol we talked about with Bitcoin, but much faster. The core developers, Vitalik and the Ethereum Foundation, they are actively, right now, writing the new code for quantum resistance. They are building a massive, complex new lock that even a quantum key cannot open.
So before the quantum computer is even built and ready to attack, they will just swap out the locks and the doors.
Yes, they will execute a hard fork.
A hard fork, that sounds painful. Break that down.
It sounds bad, like the network is breaking, but it's really just a synchronized software update. It's when the global community looks at the threat and agrees, okay, version 1 of Ethereum is now vulnerable to quantum attacks. Version 2 is completely safe. Everybody, move your nodes to version 2 on the count of 3.
And what happens to the old version, the vulnerable one?
It gets left behind in the dust, it dies, nobody uses it anymore. So The scary quantum computer launches its massive attack on the old, empty, abandoned castle. Meanwhile, everyone's money is completely safe inside the new, upgraded castle.
So it's essentially just a software problem, not a fatal, unfixable flaw in the concept itself.
Precisely. Do not fear the supercomputers. Fear the stubborn people who refuse to upgrade their software. That is the real lesson here. Adapt or die.
That's honestly a pretty good life lesson in general.
Metal
Upgrade your software, people. Keep evolving.
Always be upgrading. If you stand still, you become a loser.
So we've covered a ton of ground here. We've done the history, the underlying tech, the energy wars, the politics, the quantum threats. I want to look forward now. I want to look into the crystal ball based on what these sources are pointing to. What does this all actually mean for the average person listening to this right now?
It means the entire world, every aspect of it, is becoming programmable.
Programmable. Everything.
Yes. We have to understand a fundamental economic concept here called Pareto efficiency.
Pareto efficiency.
Oh.
Okay, you are dropping the heavy econ textbooks on us today. I love it.
It's important. People need to know this. Pareto efficiency is an economic state where resources are allocated in the absolute most efficient way possible. It means you cannot make one person better off without making someone else worse off. It is the definition of a perfectly fair, efficient market.
Okay, I follow that.
In our current analog world, deals are not efficient at all. They are messy. Lawyers take a huge cut. Bankers take a cut. Brokers delay things. Sometimes you just get screwed by a bad contract. But with smart contracts running on Ethereum, the code makes the deal fair by default. If the exact conditions are met, the deal executes instantly. If they are not met, it doesn't execute, period. You cannot bribe the code. You cannot cheat the code.
So you're saying smart contracts are rapidly becoming far more reliable than expensive human lawyers.
Much more reliable and infinitely cheaper and 1,000,000 times faster. This is the absolute future of contract law, real estate, finance, everything.
Okay, so give me a concrete forecast, short term. Let's say the next 1 to 3 years. What happens to the Ethereum network in the near term?
In the short term, you are going to see the layer 2 explosion.
Layer 2. Explain what a layer 2 is.
Think of it this way. The main Ethereum network, layer 1, is like the main highway through a major city. It is incredibly secure, but it is slow, it is congested, and the toll booths are ridiculously expensive.
Right. It's like the 405 freeway in Los Angeles during rush hour. You're barely moving and burning gas.
Exactly. Nobody wants to drive on that just to buy a coffee. Layer 2s are the dedicated express lanes built right on top of that highway. Or even better, they are high-speed bullet trains running right alongside it.
Okay, that paints a good picture.
In the next few years, regular retail users will not use the main Ethereum network directly at all. You will not pay a $50 gas fee to send a $10 transaction. That's stupid. You will use these sub-network systems with names like Base, Arbitrum, Optimism. They are lightning fast, they cost pennies, but they periodically bundle their data and settle it back onto the main Ethereum highway for ultimate security.
So it's kind of like the App Store moment for Apple. When the iPhone first came out, it was a cool gadget. But when the App Store launched and suddenly you had Uber and Instagram and Spotify, that is when it completely changed the way the world functions.
That is exactly it. Layer 2 is the App Store moment for crypto. It hides the messy code and makes it actually usable for normal, everyday people. It scales the network to billions of users.
Okay, that's the short term. Now let's go long term. Let's go 10, maybe 15 years out. The year 2035 or 2040. What does the world look like if this vision succeeds?
We will see the tokenization of everything.
Everything. We used that word earlier with the vending machine. Really everything.
Every single asset of value. Your house, your car, your stock portfolio, your college degree, your digital identity. Everything will be represented as a unique token with its own Ethereum address.
So you're saying my actual physical car sitting in my driveway will have its own digital crypto wallet?
Your car will absolutely have a wallet. And it gets crazier. Your car will use that wallet to negotiate its own insurance policy directly on the blockchain in real time.
Whoa, explain that. How does a car negotiate insurance?
Think about the sensors in modern cars. You get in your car, you start driving. The car's computer sends verifiable encrypted data to an insurance smart contract. The data says, my driver is staying under the speed limit, making smooth turns, and is currently driving in a very safe neighborhood with good weather.
Okay, so the smart contract sees you are at low risk at that exact moment.
Right. And because of that data, your insurance premium for that specific trip drops in real time. But if you start driving 100 miles per hour in the rain, swerving through traffic, the smart contract instantly raises your premium. Or even crazier, say you get into a fender bender.
Right, a crash. What happens then?
The sensors detect the crash. The smart contract instantly assesses the fault based on the data, and your car's wallet automatically pays the other car's wallet for the damages right there on the street. No insurance claims adjuster, no waiting on hold for 3 hours, no lawyers fighting in court for 2 years, instant mathematically proven settlement.
That is, I mean, that is equally terrifying and completely amazing. It's an entirely automated society.
It is a hyper-financialized world. Every object becomes a financial actor. Everything is also a bank. Your smart toaster is a bank. Your car is a bank. It is a wild, tremendous world that is coming.
It honestly sounds like pure science fiction.
It is science fiction that is becoming science fact every single day, line of code by line of code.
And I guess the ultimate takeaway here, the big lesson from analyzing all these sources, from Tom Lee's mining efficiency to Vitalik's Turing complete vision to the Japanese developers practicing Kaizen, is that you simply cannot afford to ignore this.
You cannot ignore it. If you ignore it, you will be left completely behind. Let the retail losers panic over the daily price. The price is noise. Ignore the price. Look at the real signal. Look at the hash rate. Look at the global adoption. Look at the massive development happening on layer 2s. The losers will look at a red chart and cry on the internet. The winners will look at the underlying code and keep building the future.
And the people taking the time to listen to this deep dive.
They are the winners. Believe me, they are getting the real alpha here. They are seeing the architecture of the future before it even gets fully built.
Well, I have to say, I definitely feel smarter. My brain hurts a little bit from the Turing complete and Pareto efficiency stuff, but I feel much more informed.
That is a very good sign. When your brain hurts, it means it is growing. You are expanding your mindset.
This has been an absolute incredible breakdown. Ethereum, the global factory, the digital oil, the ultimate Turing complete vending machine.
It's a beautiful, tremendous piece of technology.
All right, that is going to wrap up this deep dives into Ethereum and its future with Bitcoin. Now, if you like this talk and you want to keep seeing the future before everyone else does, please subscribe and like this channel. Seriously, go hit the button right now. We are building the smartest, most informed community on the internet, and we want you in it.
Subscribe, hit the like button. It is the absolute best deal you will make all day. Tremendous content. You do not want to miss out on what we talk about next.
We will see you all next time on The Deep Dive.
See you next time. Keep building.